Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, beautiful Tuesday in late September, very late September. Today is the 29th, looking at the old calendar down there, the 29th of September, which means this September is almost over. You know what that means? In 2 days, it's going to be October, or as some of my musician friends like to call it, Rocktober! Yeah, Rocktober! I wish I was a better guitar player because I'd play y'all a good guitar song, but I'm still learning. And so one of these days, I'm going to be great. When all the little ones, all you kids are all grown up and you've got kids of your own, then I'll be a great rock and roll guitar player. I'm just kidding. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. It is time for Mr. Tim's Story Time. Don't forget, like and share our page. Give us a shout out. Say hello. We love to hear from everybody. And I'll always say hello to you as well on the Story Times. Now, it's a little gloomy looking out there today. I like this kind of year, though. You know, the fall time comes around. It gets a little gloomy. The leaves are falling. We always have good times. I'm not going to tell you the stupid leaf joke again, but I am going to do stories today about animals that can fly. I found a book about guess what? A fly. That flies. And we've got a book about a squirrel, a book about a cow, and of course birds, because birds fly. A lot of birds fly. Not all birds can fly, though, Maybe you didn't know this, but if you've ever seen penguins, Mr. Penguins walk around and they don't fly, and other birds don't fly as well. Chickens don't really fly, And so we're going to do stories about animals that fly. Speaking of squirrels, how do you catch a squirrel, huh? How do you catch a squirrel? Anybody know? Anybody? Oh, we've got some friends down there. Miss Julie's here. Julie, do you know how you catch a squirrel? Craig, my good friend Craig, do you know how he catches a squirrel? You climb up a tree and you act like a nut. That's how you catch a squirrel. I don't know. I think that scares the squirrels away, but maybe it's the different kind of nut they're talking about, like acorns or walnuts, whatever. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. And you ready for the happy fun time story time song? It goes like this. Remember, it's real easy. It's time for story time. It's happy story time. Hooray for story time today. Oh yeah. Gotta get that oh yeah in there at the end. Don't forget, any of the books that I read here at Storytime are all available at the Charlestown Library. That's where I get them from. So all of you who have library cards in the Jefferson County area and you got a library card with us, come on down. Or look us up on the internet. Get it to ctlibrary.org. That's our website. And you can put stuff on hold that way. All sorts of other neat things you can do. You can go and get Hoopla. So the Hoopla is a way that you can download free ebooks and audiobooks and graphic novels and movies and TV shows. All of those things you can find on Hoopla. Just go to our website and you can get them that way. So without any further ado, let's get the stories going, huh? Story time! All right. Let's see. This one is a lot of fun. This one is called The Cow Who Wouldn't Come Down. And this one is by Paul Brett Johnson. He did the story and the pictures. This one is a lot of fun. The Cow Who Wouldn't Come Down. What's the expression? I'll do that someday when cows fly. Wait, that's pigs fly. But still, I think, it's crazy to think of a cow flying, huh? All right. The Cow Who Wouldn't Come Down. Chloe, stop that. I got a dog named Chloe, and she's trying to dig into my couch. Can you believe that? Let's get to our story. Miss Rosemary marched out into the yard. She called sternly, "Gertrude, you will kindly come down this very instant. It's a known fact that cows don't fly." Gertrude could cut figure eights in the sky, pretty as you please, and completely ignored Miss Rosemary. Miss Rosemary tried again. "Gertrude! Oh, Gertrude! It's time to come down now. Here's a fresh bale of sweet alfalfa. You love alfalfa." Gertrude took a nosedive, caught an updraft, and sailed into a lazy glide. She did not, however, come down. Poor Miss Rosemary. It was plain to see she was getting nowhere. She pulled her chin and knitted her brow. Somehow she must bring that silly, contrary cow down. Miss Rosemary hurried to the shed and sorted through her fishing gear. She chose a sturdy rod and returned to the yard. When Gertrude made an especially low swoop, Miss Rosemary drew back and let go. but her fishing line became tangled in some overhead branches. She missed Gertrude completely. Oh, look at the mess she made trying to catch Gertrude with that fishing pole. Gertrude perched in a tree and tried to sound like a bird. Meep, meep. Oh, Gertrude, do hush, Miss Rosemary grumbled. It's a known fact cows don't merp, they moo. Miss Rosemary had another idea. She found a long rope, made a lasso, and climbed the attic stairs. She crouched by the window, breathless, and waited. Finally, Gertrude whizzed by, and Miss Rosemary hurled the lasso. All she captured was a noose full of air. Gertrude, you are the limit, she fumed and stomped her feet. Miss Rosemary was not about to give up, however. She climbed very cautiously out the window and onto the roof. Inch by inch, she crawled forward and upward. She planned to sit at the top and wait. Sooner or later, Gertrude would fly by again. Then she would grab hold of Gertrude's tail. So there she is trying to catch her with the lasso. There she is climbing the roof of the house. Just as she neared the crest of the roof, Miss Rosemary felt herself slipping. She grabbed for the chimney but missed it. Down, down, down she slid. When she hit the gutter, Miss Rosemary bounced. Whoosh! Her dress billowed like a parachute as she sailed through the air and landed in a mass of trumpet vine. That crack-bean cow will put me in an early grave, Miss Rosemary moaned as she untangled herself. Oh, poor Miss Rosemary. Look at her flying there and falling in the trumpet vine. Miss Rosemary hobbled to the front porch and sat in her rocking chair. That was her best thinking place. She crossed her arms, set her jaw, and rocked and thought. She rocked and thought without stopping for lunch. She rocked and thought without speaking to the postman. She rocked and thought without answering her phone. Gertrude, for her part, did not come down, not once. That evening, when the sun turned red and the hills turned blue, Miss Rosemary finally had the answer. Wearing a crafty little grin, she rose from her chair and went to the barn. There she got a bucket of paint, a brush, and a large piece of plywood. She made a sign that said, let's see what the sign says. Help wanted. Full-time cow. Experience desirable. Apply in person. Miss Rosemary put the sign on her front gate. She stole an upward glance at Gertrude, who pretended not to be curious. Then Miss Rosemary went to the attic. She dug around until she found 2 pairs of old roller skates. She took these to her sewing room. Next, she emptied all her boxes of fabric pieces and made a huge pile in the middle of the floor. She went through the mound and selected just the right scraps and squares. The rest, she decided, would do for stuffing. Miss Rosemary sat down and began to sew. She worked all through the night. Her sewing machine never stopped humming. What do you think she's making? Just as the sun cleared the hilltops out of the house, Miss Rosemary came, followed by Matilda. Miss Rosemary pulled Matilda to the barnyard, right up to Gertrude's feeding bin, which was right beside Gertrude's salt lick, which was right across from Gertrude's watering trough. Miss Rosemary took the bucket of paint and the brush, and she changed the sign on the front gate. She put a big X through the help wanted part. Then she added some new words. The sign now said, no cows needed. Position filled. Miss Rosemary went back to Matilda and gave her a pat on the nose. What a perfect cow, she said, a bit louder than necessary. With that, Miss Rosemary went inside, fixed herself a hearty plate of scrambled eggs and toast, and sat down to eat by the window. Gertrude circled above Matilda, slowly coming closer and closer. Around and around she flew until finally she made a sudden zoom for the clouds. Straight up she climbed, way up she climbed. Look at Gertrude go. Gertrude came down like a rocket. Stunk! She landed squarely on Matilda and mashed her flat. Miss Rosemary smiled and finished her scrambled eggs. Oh, look at that. Gertrude smashed that old fake cow there. Later, Gertrude returned to munching grass and swishing her tail as cows are supposed to do. Miss Rosemary was relieved, but she couldn't help thinking it seemed that Gertrude was spending a lot of time around the farm machinery. Silly me, Miss Rosemary chuckled. It's a known fact that cows don't drive tractors. Uh-oh. What a neat little story, huh? Those of you who might live near a farm, have you ever seen a cow fly? If you ever see a cow fly, make sure you get a picture of that. I want to see that. I want to see cows flying. All right, we got some more great stories for you. I've got another great squirrel joke, if anybody wants to hear another great squirrel joke. Did you know what a squirrel does on its phone? It has pictures of him taking selfies with all kinds of nuts. Yeah. But I don't mean people nuts. I mean like real nuts. That was a terrible one. Why did I even look that one up? Sorry about that. Just forget that last 30 seconds of your life. That was terrible. We'll come up with some better jokes here in a little bit. Time for another story. This one is about I just saw a really bad joke. It's interesting because it has to do with my next book. He says, I saw a horse fly, because there's a type of fly known as a horse fly. But this one is actually called A Pet for Fly Guy. A fly guy is a pretty popular character, so this is one of his first stories. A pet for Fly Guy. This is Fly Guy here. Look at him. He's just a fly who likes to fly. A pet for Fly Guy. A boy had a pet fly. He named him Fly Guy. Fly Guy was the smartest pet in the world. He could say the boy's name. Buzz. One day, Buzz said, Fly Guy, we are going on a picnic. Buzz and Fly Guy played chase all the way to the park. They ate lunch. They played together. They looked at clouds. They watched other people play with their pets. That little girl's got a pet fish. That girl's got, looks like a pet bear. That girl's got a pet octopus. He's got a pet porcupine, but he's keeping safe there. We got a pet monkey. That's what I would like, a pet monkey. All right, anyway, back to the story. Wow, said Buzz. Everyone has a pet. No pets. Oops, that's right, said Buzz. You don't have a pet. His pet doesn't have a pet. No pets. We will find a pet for you, said Buzz. Yes. But remember, you have to take care of it, said Buzz. Yes. And play with it, said Buzz. Yes. And feed it, said Buzz. Yes. Okay, said Buzz. Let's go to the pet shop. At the pet shop, Buzz came out with a puppy. It licked Fly Guy. Oof. It's awful big for Fly Guy. Buzz came out with a kitten. It swatted Fly Guy. Buzz came out with a frog. It chased Fly Guy. This isn't working, said Buzz. Only you can pick the best pet for you. Yes. Back at the park, Fly Guy found a worm, but it was too slimy. Fly Guy found a spider, but it was too tangly. Fly Guy found a cricket, but it was too jumpy. Boing, 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 boing. Buzz said, let's think about this whole pet thing. Yes. You need a pet who likes to play, said Buzz, just like you. Yes. You need a pet who can do tricks, said Buzz, just like you. Yes. You need a pet who is a good friend, said Buzz, just like you. Yes. And, said Buzz, you need a pet with a cool name. Yes, Buzz. Buzz is Pets. Me? Said Buzz. You want me to be your pet? Please. I never thought of that, said Buzz. Okay, sure. I mean, yes. There's just one thing about being your pet, said Buzz. You don't have to feed me. Yeah, because Buzz probably wouldn't want to eat leftover garbage. Buzz said, do you know who's the best pet in the whole wide world? It's taking a while to find out, hasn't it? Buzz. No, Fly Guy. Buzz. Hey, Fly Guy. Buzz. Fly Guy. Buzz. Oh, they both think each other is the best pet in the whole wide world. Do you know what kind of pet just lays around on your floor all the time? The car pet. The car pet. I just made that up. Pretty good one, huh? Yeah, I like that one. Pretty clever. All right, who else have we got out there? We've got a dragon. Oh, yeah, you see a dragonfly. Yeah, All right. I know we got a lot of folks out there watching. Please feel free to give us a shout out, say hello. I know we've got friends from groups and organizations all around Jefferson County as well. So hello to all of you. Good morning to all of you. All you preschoolers who are there at home, classes or whatever. Hello, good morning. All right, I got another one. This one's about a little chicken. Ulvina Flies is the name of this book. I'll look, see here, and see what happens for Ulvina. Got a letter on the... Oh, wow. You can't? Asked Will. Why not? Because I am a chicken, Ulvina sighed. So? Asked Will. Because, burst Olivia, to get to Hawaii you have to fly over the ocean. And chickens can't fly. The bird convention. You can still go. Just take an airplane. An airplane? Said Ulvina. No, I could... Ulvina, Will moaned. Don't be such a chicken. But I am a chicken, Ulvina said to herself after Will left. As she sat down at the kitchen table, Ulvina began to think about all the things she had missed because she couldn't fly. She started making a list. There was that egg reunion in March and Aunt Mabel's feathered friend party. By the time Ulvina had finished the list, the whole kitchen was filled with paper. Ulvina looked at the mess and reached for the phone. Will, she huffed, you were right. I should go to the bird convention. I'm taking that airplane. The next day, Ulvina went to buy her ticket. Since the airline didn't get many bird passengers, they gave her a special discount. What do you know? Ulvina blushed as she bought her ticket. It's so embarrassing that I can't fly, she thought. This is kind of sad. The bird special shows that you get 2% off if you are a bird, but only 3 birds have ever taken advantage of that special. Ulvina was packing the night before her flight when Will called. Will, Ulvina said, I don't know if I can do this after all. I can't decide how many pairs of socks I should bring, or I've lost my sunglasses and my suitcase won't close. Maybe I shouldn't go. Chickens aren't supposed to fly. Relax, said Will. You can do it. Pigs aren't supposed to fly either, but I do every year to visit my mother. I'll be there tomorrow to drive you to the airport. Look at Will. There's a picture of Will with his mom because he flies to visit her. Also, on a side note, look how lucky Will is. He's got a whole plate of cupcakes just to himself. Wish I had a plate of cupcakes. The following morning, Ulvina and Will drove to the airport. Ulvina stared in wonder. It's very busy at an airport, she mumbled to herself. First, Olivia had to check in. All you need to do is show your ticket and identification and give them your luggage, Will assured her. Don't worry, it's easy. Unfortunately, checking in did not go smoothly. Olvina accidentally packed her ticket in her suitcase and had to unpack everything to find it. The line behind Olvina grew and grew. The attendant giggled when she saw Olvina's polka-dotted panties. Oh, Olvina's got serious silly underwear. Then Olvina had to pass through the security detectors. Will stayed behind because he wasn't flying. "Just watch the signs, they'll tell you where to go," he called. "And have a good time, Olivia." Olvina saw the signs to her airplane. Passengers were already lined up. She followed the passengers through a doorway and down a long hallway. At the end of the hall, she could see the opening of the airplane. A flight attendant took her ticket and brought Olvina to her seat. Olvina sat down and looked out the window. They were very high up. "Please fasten your seatbelt," said the attendant. "We will be taking off soon." Look at poor Olvina. Look how nervous she looks. Oh. Taking off, Olvina winced. She clamped her seatbelt tightly around her. The attendant then played a video about air safety. Olvina was starting to feel very nervous. "Maybe I should get off the plane," she thought. Too late. They were moving. Olvina closed her eyes. The plane jolted and grumbled and whistled. "Oh no!" Olvina groaned as she clutched at the armrest. Then the noise stopped. Olvina's ears felt strange and kind of stuffy. She opened her eyes. "Oh. I'm flying," Olvina said in a tiny voice. "I'm really flying." "Would you like some gum?" the passenger next to her asked. "It helps get rid of that popping noise in your ears." "Thank you," said Olvina. "I'm glad I have to take an airplane to the bird convention," her neighbor said. "All the other birds look so tired when they fly by." "You're going to the bird convention?" Olvina gasped. "Me too." "Really?" said the penguin, smiling. "My name is Haley." Olvina and Haley talked and talked. They talked through the airplane, dinner, and movie. Olvina told Haley that this was her first flight, and Haley told Olvina about how it was too far to swim to Hawaii. Later, Haley comforted Olvina as the plane landed. "Don't worry," Haley said. "All that bumping is normal." Olvina and Haley claimed their luggage together and even shared a taxi to the hotel. "We're going to have so much fun at the convention," Haley told Olvina. "I'm so glad you decided to come." "Me, you know," Olvina said. "Me too." Well, look at this. There's Haley and I relaxing. What are they doing? Haley and I, they went snorkeling together. They're drinking out of coconuts together. And then Olvina wrote a little postcard back to Will. It reads, "Dear Will, I'm having a great time. Wait until you see my pictures. See you soon. Olvina. P.S. Flying was easy." So it looks like Will and Olvina had a wonderful time. And look at that. There's Will getting his postcard from Hawaii. Huh? Wasn't that a neat little story? A great little fun story, but it's also a good way to show you that, especially you kids, if you're a little afraid of flying, just listen to what the big people tell you and follow the signs and follow what everybody else is doing, and you'll do just fine. Flying can be a lot of fun, and it's a really quick and easy way to get somewhere when you have to go. All right, well, we still have more stories to go. Looks like we've got some more friends that have joined us. There's Justin. Hello, Justin. Thanks for coming by and saying hello on this beautiful Mr. Tim Storytime Tuesday morning. This next one is a lot of fun. I really like this story. This one is by Jeremy Tankard, and it's called Grumpy Bird. Grumpy Bird. I don't think Olvina was a grumpy bird. She was just a nervous bird. Grumpy Bird. When Bird woke up, he was grumpy. He was too grumpy to eat. He was too grumpy to play. In fact, he was too grumpy to fly. "Looks like I'm walking today," said Grumpy Bird. Bird walked past Sheep. "Good morning," said Sheep. "What are you doing?" "Walking," said Bird. "Nice," said Sheep. "I'll keep you company." Bird walked past Rabbit. "Hi there, Bird," said Rabbit. "What are you doing?" "I'm walking," said Bird. "It's no fun." "I could use some exercise," said Rabbit. "I'll walk too." Bird walked past Raccoon. "Hey, Bird," said Raccoon. "What are you doing?" "I'm walking," snapped Bird. "What does it look like?" "Looks like fun," said Raccoon. "I'm coming too." Bird walked past Beaver. "Hello, Bird," said Beaver. "Where are you going? What are you doing?" "Let me give you a hint," said Bird. "You do it by placing one foot in front of the other." "Walking?" guessed Beaver. "I love walking." Bird walked past Fox. "Good day, Bird," said Fox. "What are you doing?" "Why does everyone want to know what I'm doing?" shouted Bird. "I'm just walking, okay?" "Okay," said Fox. "Let's go." Bird walked. The other animals walked. Bird stopped. The other animals stopped. Bird stood on one leg. The other animals stood on one leg. Bird jumped. The other animals jumped. "Hey, this is fun," said Bird. "Come on," said Bird, who had forgotten all about being grumpy. "Let's fly back to my nest for a snack." And they did. Look what the snack is, though. It's a worm. I don't know if I want a worm for a snack. Anybody ever try a worm for a snack? Maybe put a little salt on it. Might be kind of good. I don't know. I'll stick with my peanut butter and crackers. All right. Anybody want one more? Anybody want one more? Looks like Casey's here. Hello, Casey. That's right. We got a big party going here at Mr. Tim's Story Time. I do have one more story if anybody wants that one. This one is actually called Merle the High Flying Squirrel. Huh? Okay. What do squirrels' favorite way to watch TV? Huh? How do squirrels watch TV? They watch Netflix. Get it? Netflix. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every squirrel joke involves a word nut in there somewhere. So there's not a lot of really creative squirrel jokes. But if anybody can come up with a better one, let me know. I'll be glad to do it. This one is called Merle the High Flying Squirrel by Bill Peet. I always love those illustrations too. I think this is going to be the last story for the day, I'm sorry to say. Sure has been fun reading with you today. And don't forget, any of the books we do here in Storytime, you can get from us at the Charlestown Library. Kids, ask your tall people if they can reserve these for you, and you can come get them. We also allow people into the library. You can come in 8 people is the maximum amount of people we can have at a time, and only for a half hour. But we're the only library open in Jefferson County right now, so if you gotta come in and look around, you're welcome to do that at our library. Merle was a scrawny young squirrel who lived in a big city park up in an oak tree. He was such a timid, frightened little squirrel. He hardly ever came down out of the tree. The noisy traffic made him jittery, and the towering gray buildings gave him the creeps, and the people who came to the park frightened him, even though most of them were friendly. Whenever someone offered Merle a peanut, He kept at a safe distance until they tossed it to him. Then, in a flash, he was back up the tree. There's Merle. "I'm tired of being scared," Merle said one morning. "It's no fun at all. From now on, I'm going to try and be brave. Even brave enough to take a trip somewhere. I might go all the way across the park and back." That same morning, Merle overheard a group of men trading stories about all the places they had been and all the things they had seen. Since the little squirrel had never been anywhere, he loved stories about faraway places, and he pricked up his ears to catch every word. Then, without even knowing it, he left his tree to end up perched on a park bench right beside them. "I've seen a lot of things," said one bearded old fellow, "but nothing ever got me like the big trees out in the west. Why, some of them shoot up as tall as the tallest building, and they're a heap sight more beautiful. When you're a-standing there amongst them, you get to feeling mighty small, not measly small like here in the city. It's a good feeling, and there's a great quietness about them, like as if those giant trees have been standing there for thousands of years, just storing up quiet. But you've got to see them to understand what I mean." After the men had gone, Merle sat in the oak trying to imagine a tree as tall as a building. "I just can't believe it," he said. "Not until I see one, so I must take a trip out west. That's what. I don't dare run along the streets and highways. I'd get squashed in no time. The only safe way for a squirrel to travel is on the telephone wires. That is, if they go all the way out west. I wonder who would know." "Who would know what?" asked a goldfinch, fluttering down beside him. "If the telephone wires go all the way out west," said Merle. "They go everywhere," said the finch. "So what?" "So I'm going there," said the squirrel. "But that's hundreds of miles," said the bird. "Way too much of a trip for a squirrel. It would take forever." "Just the same," said Merle, "I'm going." With a sad goodbye to his oak tree, Merle took a flying leap over to the nearest telephone wire. Then, after making sure which way was west, he started off. High wire walking was something new for Merle, and at first he teetered along unsteadily. The rumble of traffic down below gave him the shakes, and he had to remind himself to be brave. "Remember," he muttered, "no more being scared. I've got to be brave. Brave, brave, brave!" And just like that, Merle got over the shakes and was scampering along the wires at a fast lickety-clip. "At this rate," he said, "the trip out west will be easy. I'll be there before I know it." Look at him go on that wire. But before he knew it, most of the day was gone. It was late afternoon, and Merle was getting tired. And to his dismay, he was still in the city. Finally, he hopped to the top of a telephone pole to catch his breath and give his aching feet a rest. As the squirrel sat there, staring at the buildings rising up in the hazy distance, suddenly he realized the trip was impossible. "The bird was right," he sighed. "It is way too much of a trip for a squirrel. It would take forever." So Merle gave up his dream of seeing the big trees and headed back for the park. By now the sun was setting and it would be dark long before he reached the oak tree. So Merle began looking around for a safe place to spend the night. Pretty soon he spied a big sign on a factory building, and in one leap he was on the roof. Then, picking out a huge letter S, he curled up in the bottom curve and was sound asleep in a second. The next morning, Merle was awakened by voices coming from somewhere below, and he sat up with a shiver of fright. "We could grab it by the tail," someone said. "If we could reach it, what we need is a tall, tall ladder." In a flash, the squirrel was on top of the S. Then, peering down into the street, he spotted two boys. But they weren't looking at him. They were staring up at a kite with the tail tangled in the telephone wires. "Oh. We need more than a ladder," said one boy. "We need a long pole, too. And I know where to find one. Let's go." As the boys raced away up the street, Merle got a bright idea. "I'll surprise them," he said. "I'll untangle the tail and have the kite down before they get back." Then he scurried out onto the wires and set to work. The squirrel was so busy tucking at the tangle he didn't notice the storm clouds approaching and rolling over the city, or the first big raindrops pelting down. The fierce wind came up so quickly, Merle was caught by surprise, and swoosh! The kite was swept off the wires with the squirrel clinging tightly to the tail. Oh, look at him there. Suddenly, Merle was sailing high over the buildings, on up into the boiling black clouds. Now he was really scared. He feared the kite might be ripped to pieces. Then down he would tumble into a street full of traffic. But the boys had made a good, strong kite, and it sailed lightly along in the midst of the roaring, raging storm, smiling all the way. For an instant there was a break in the clouds, and Merle caught a glimpse of the earth far below, a patchwork of fields with a tiny speck of a house and a barn here and there. I must be a mile high, thought Merle, and going like 60. I'm on a flying trip, and it might be a long one if I can just hang on. And he tightened his grip on the wildly thrashing tail. At last the storm blew itself out. The wind died down to a whisper, and the kite dropped out of the clouds. The tail fell limp, and the squirrel found himself drifting down into a barren wasteland of boulders and dry brush with no sign of a tree anywhere. "No, no," cried Merle, "not here. I couldn't stand to live here, not even for a day." Just as the kite was settling to the ground, along came a whirlwind, swirling up clouds of dust, thistles, and tumbleweeds. Finally, it caught up the kite, sending it into a tailspin, and Merle was taken for a dizzy, whirling ride straight up into the sky, higher than ever. Then a powerful crosswind sent the kite sailing on into the afternoon over deep canyons and high above jagged mountain peaks. Beyond the mountains were dense pine forests, and the squirrel's eyes brightened. "We've gone far enough," pleaded Merle, jerking frantically at the kite tail. Come down, you silly old kite." But the kite wasn't coming down. Not yet, anyway. The kite kept sailing for hours, carried along by a lively breeze, high above more mountain peaks and more forests. Then, just before sunset, the kite began drifting down through the rosy pink clouds. The great red ball of a sun was slipping past the horizon, casting its bright reflection across the broad, shimmering sea. Suddenly, the squirrel realized he had made the trip out west. Too far out west! The kite was heading out to sea. "Oh, I'm done for," groaned Merle. "This is the end of me, for sure." All at once, the kite stopped with a jerk. The tail had snagged onto the tip of a scraggly runt of a pine, and after one last flip-flop, it tumbled into the tree. And with a sign of relief, the bedraggled squirrel hopped down to a branch for a look around. In all directions, a ghostly blanket of fog covered the ground, with here and there a runt of a pine. "What a weird place," muttered Merle, "but at least I'm lucky to land in a tree and not in the sea. Even if it is just a little runt of a tree, it's a good place to sleep." When Merle awakened the next morning, he was so surprised he nearly tumbled off the branch. And what a tumble it would have been! The fog had drifted away, and Merle discovered he was high in the air, up in the very tip-top of a gigantic redwood. And on every side were more towering trees, a whole forest of them. "I can't believe it!" cried Merle. I'm here! I'm way out in the west, in the big trees!" "Like the man said," chortled the happy squirrel, "they are as tall as a building, and a whole lot more beautiful. And there is a great quietness about them, and I do feel mighty small out here, but not measly small like I did in the city. It is a good feeling. Just great." Wow. Hello there, Angela and Dana. Thanks for joining us this morning. Say, how many of you out there would prefer to just grab onto a kite and let it carry you across the country instead of flying by plane? Do you think you could hold on for as many hours as Merle did? I don't know. I don't think I could. That would be quite a feat to do. Well, everyone who came and joined us, I sure do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming out on Mr. Tim's Tuesday Storytime. At 4 o'clock this coming Thursday, you'll have Miss Julie at 4 o'clock on Thursday, and then I'll be back next Tuesday at 10:30. Miss Julie's also going to do those 10:30 Monday Story Times as well. So between myself and Miss Julie, there's all kinds of story times going on with the Charlestown Library. Thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you next week.